We have risen from the ashes to school the masses. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Scholars Wrestling Show, episode 327. I am a man behind a microphone. My name is Scholar Jeff. Joining us this week is the new Scholars of Wrestling World Heavyweight Champion, the one and only Mr. Scholar, Brian. Brian, how are you doing this evening, sir?
Doesn't matter how far down you get me, I always come back to the top. It's so good. I may not have the title, the actual belt around or on my shoulder right now because I'm not willing to come out in 3 feet of snow. But the fact remains, it doesn't matter. I don't need a title. I don't need the actual belt. The aura just surrounds me.
And speaking
I
of
am.
auras, speaking of auras, also joining us this week, as his Zoom profile so adequately states, he is the one true undisputed Scholar's bitches, the one and only Mr. Scholar Tarek. Scholar Tarek, how's your evening going, sir?
It's going all right. I kind of don't want my Zoom title to be the one true undisputed Scholars bitches. I wanted to share that title with my tag team partner, Brian. I was so rooting for you in the Rumble game, dude.
So close.
Congratulations on you winning the championship
by one point. By one point.
But I will say, it could have been another historic moment if I actually went with Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. It's like we would just throw the title into vacancy. But I guess that just happens once a year. Or wait, did that happen? No, once a year at WrestleMania last year.
Something like that. Something wacky happened.
Yeah, Charlie and I forced you to vacate the title, fool.
Yep. We didn't have the champion for 3 months. It was great.
And speaking of which, last but certainly not least, the champion in recovery himself, Scholar Charlie. Scholar Charlie, tell us a little more about how your night's going.
I'm sleepy, and I wish I could be mad at Brian, but it was such a well-fought, close freaking victory for him to become the new Scholars champion. I can't be anything but proud of him. Congratulations, Brian.
I think like we were all within like 4 or 5 points.
Oh yeah,
of each other.
Yeah. It was a close one. This one was a good one.
Yeah, it's like considering how I normally perform in a Royal Rumble game, me pulling out 16 points was like, what the hell? I didn't even know. Like these three were watching it together. I am at my place because there's 3 feet of snow on the ground, and I called Scholar Tarek up at the end of the show, just like, what did you think of the event? And he was like, how you doing, champ? And I'm like, what?
And if I didn't have that epiphany and I went with my initial thoughts, I would have got points for the Rumble winners as well. So it would have been closer. I might have retained. I don't know how many points back I was or whatever. But
and Edge was my second, so I wouldn't have won the Royal Rumble game, but I would have come in second place instead of third if I had chosen Edge.
I think Edge was everybody's second after his announcement of being in the Rumble.
Yeah, there were a lot of picks for Edge, but again, if we're going to get to all of that stuff, we're going to cover the entire event from top to bottom. Obviously, there was a whole lot happening, so let's just dive right into it.
You're off by 4 points, Charlie.
Oh, there you go.
So if I initially went with Bianca Belair and Edge, that would have been 2 points apiece, right?
Yes, indeed, it would have.
Oh my God! Why did I have that stupid epiphany?
That's why the Royal Rumble comes the way it does.
Oh boy.
So let's dive right in. Let's not waste any more time. This is our review, our recap of the Royal Rumble 2021. Starting with the pre-show, we've got, as previously mentioned, we've got Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler winning their match over Asuka and Charlotte Flair, and finally regaining the women's tag team titles. general reactions. Champs advantage. Scholar Brian, take us through it. Reactions to the match and reactions to the victory.
First of all, this could have been done on Raw. It could have been, but it's the pre-show, so it might as well have been Raw. This was fine. It did what it did exactly what it needed to do. The only problem is, okay, it made your Raw Women's Champion look like a bitch. It was never about Asuka. Asuka had nothing to do with anything in this match. It was all Charlotte, which is par for the course. But when Asuka is your women's champion and you don't even mention her when you bring it up later on, and at the end of the match, you're like, oh, Charlotte lost the tag team titles. Who's her tag team partner? Do you even know? That's the commentary. But the match itself was fine. It did what it needed to do. I don't think there was any way that Charlotte and Asuka could have come out on top with this. I still would have liked them to lose it to the Riot Squad about a week when they faced them before, but if you're gonna do it with Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, it needed to be done at the Royal Rumble. It was fine.
Just looking at everyone's reactions, is there sort of a consensus here that says that this should have been done on Raw?
It could have and should have easily been done on Raw. Yeah,
shouldn't have happened. Period. I mean, nothing says rewarding someone who almost injured another female wrestler and giving them the women's tag team titles. Yay. I've made it perfectly clear in the past, and even I'm going to just continue it right now. I don't like Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler as a tag team. People have been saying that, oh, they work wonders together. Maybe at first when they're doing the whole could they get along bullshit. Yeah. But honestly, they're a course that's just, they are not at all interesting. Shayna Baszler needs to be on her own. She needs to be a singles competitor. She needs to be a contender for the Raw Women's Championship. She doesn't need to be stuck in a quote unquote women's tag division that really doesn't exist to an extent. Yeah, there are maybe like 4 women's tag teams, but yeah, the only women's tag team that has any form of like relevance as a actual tag team is the Riot Squad. Mandy Rose, Dana Brooke, just 2 people thrown together who obviously look like they don't want to be together. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, I've already made it perfectly clear how I feel about them as a tag team. Asuka and Charlotte, the Empress and the Queen, another forced tag team because, Lana has to get written out of a storyline between her and Nia Jax. Brian said that Asuka was so irrelevant in this match. You can honestly say the same thing about Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. This whole thing was about Charlotte and Lacey Evans.
Speaking of Lacey, can we at least all come to the consensus that Lacey looked great that night? Can we all agree on that?
Of course, this is Virginia's conversation.
Okay. And Ric Flair's attire, and Ric Flair's robe, or how she looked in the Rumble, or both?
If you're talking about just regular looks, yes. But in in actual like action, no. She did not look good at all in action.
We do not tolerate such heresy on this show.
But the deal this did. Okay, if you're furthering the Charlotte and Lacey Evans feud, this did exactly what you needed to do. The fact remains,
everything else was second fiddle. That's what it means.
As Tarek said, okay, this is if you're gonna give it to a real tag team, give it to the Riot Squad. Don't give it to Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. I like Shayna Baszler. Nia Jax. It's the problem with Nia Jax is she's unsafe.
She's
okay,
reckless.
and then she goes on Twitter and laughs about it. That's it. So
It doesn't help her case when she does that. It makes her even look more petty to me. I'm not being a whiner. I'm not just one of those fans that just complains about everything. When I find something to be upset about, I back it up. And Nia Jax has, I guess she does have capabilities to be a star in WWE, especially the fact that she's cousins with The Rock, because that's really all she has now. But if she was actually thrown in one of those, like how Keith Lee and Otis were thrown into those like big man wrestling classes at the Performance Center, throw her in that too, because she really is reckless, and she really is going to. I hate that I kind of have to pull this because when I say this was an accident, but with how she's doing it, she's really going to legit. She already did legit injure someone with Kairi Sane. I mean, she busted her open with a reckless throw to the steel steps. She's gonna D'Lo Brown someone. She's gonna D'Lo Brown draws someone.
Well, I hope
if she keeps up with this recklessness.
I hope it never comes
that's
to
what
it.
I want? No.
Of course not. No one.
I don't want
wants
it
that.
to come to that. No one wants that. But if she keeps doing this ridiculous nonsense, then she has no one to blame but herself for her stupidity.
I'm totally on board with that. But on a more happy note, let's transfer over to the rest of the matches for the evening on the main card, including a match that did not go so poorly. That could have gone a lot stupider, but did not. I'm, of course, talking about Drew McIntyre defeating Goldberg. I think we were all in agreement that this was the right decision. I know I was watching this match. I was spending most of this match just hoping Goldberg, please don't let Goldberg win. Please don't let Goldberg win. And looking at Charlie, you piped up first, so I'm going to pick on you. It looks like everyone shared that same sentiment. Break it down for me. Did you share that same sentiment, and take us through your personal perspective on the match?
Definitely, because we knew what it was going to be. It was going to be a transfer of signature and finishing moves between the two of them. I didn't expect that spear out of Drew in the beginning of the match. That was awesome. But with it being WWE and with Vince still being Vince, there's always that fear in the back of your head that what if Goldberg does walk away with the victory, and you don't want that happening. At least our crowd didn't want that happening. For what it was, I enjoyed it. It gave suspense It didn't end as quickly as I thought it would, and it gave a little bit of suspense. And I'm just happy that Drew finally kicked his head off and retained the championship, because that can move Goldberg out of stealing someone's WrestleMania spot.
This was perfect. This was exactly what needed to happen. Okay, Drew looks like a badass because he took a spear that took out that took out like an entire. It took out the barricade, and it took out an entire row of the monitors behind the barricade. So and then he took a jackhammer, and don't lie to me when I ask you this question. How badly did you almost shit your pants when Drew McIntyre took that?
Oh, of course.
That jackhammer, and the hand was raised for the 3 count. How badly were you like? No!
There was a little bit of a tail happening,
but this was exactly what it needed to be. Drew looks like a badass. Okay, he gets that with the names that he has on his mantle, just in this title reign alone. Okay, he's a made man. He's good. Okay, Goldberg is the icing on the cake. Okay, and the fact that he gets his hand raised by Goldberg at the end of it, like we all thought going in, like we were like, oh no, what do the WWE's got to fuck us, got to screw us over, this is good. This is Goldberg versus the Fiend all over again. This just shows you WWE has more faith in Drew Goldberg than the Fiend. That I said Drew Goldberg, son of a bitch.
It just clicked on my.
I have all the faith in the world in Drew Goldberg. By the way, just throw it out.
Everyone believes in Drew Goldberg.
Yeah, Drew McIntyre. Okay, WWE has more faith in the guy, and to be quite honest, if you're going by realism and believing that someone can beat the shit out of somebody else, I have more faith in Drew McIntyre than the Fiend too. So this makes sense. Drew McIntyre kicks the head off of a legend and gets the pin, and now he's going into WrestleMania. It's been a year. You had that one step back with Randy Orton. Now what are you gonna do? Because I feel that he's not getting the Royal Rumble winner at WrestleMania. So what are you gonna do there? And it's an interesting spot to be in. I'm happy for Drew McIntyre that Goldberg actually gave him this opportunity and sold for him really well. Like he took that kick to the face like a champion.
Yeah.
We're talking about a guy that spent most of his career slamming his head through either a brick wall or locker. So he took that one kick like a champ. Could have sold it like a cruiserweight and did a backflip. Considering the stuff that he's been having that's been slamming his head on separate objects throughout the years, yeah, a foot is nothing.
But
it's like getting hit in the face with a pillow.
When you actually look at the replay, when you actually looked at the replay, he actually kicked him full boot in the head. So it's like, yeah. It
was Drew McIntyre's answer to Goldberg's backstage people are soft now. In response to what Taker said.
Yeah, Drew McIntyre went, "Oh really? Watch this."
Oh, you think we're soft? Oh, you think us backstage are soft? Well, boot to the face, bitch.
Yeah. As a sidebar, in case you were curious, I was actually looking up, hey, is there anyone actually named Drew Goldberg? Just out of curiosity. And apparently there is. It's like a vlogger or something. He's
just some random dude.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was hoping it would be just some like really ridiculous looking goober, but it's like, no, he's like boringly average. So responding to what Brian
we're shouting out to the Drew Goldberg.
Yeah, apparently he has a vlog YouTube channel under
Why
Drew
are we still
Binsky.
Talking about this?
Because Drew Goldberg is a funny name, and we're gonna roll with this for as long as we can.
The cloud.
I'll stay sided with Drew McIntyre. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
Drew McIntyre.
Drew Goldberg is a much better name than Drew McIntyre.
Can we just all agree that the fake Drew McIntyre that came out during the Miz and Morrison segment a couple of weeks ago, that's the actual Drew McIntyre?
That was Drew McIntyre.
I don't know what Drew McIntyre means, but that guy was the epitome of it.
Okay, book it for WrestleMania. Drew McIntyre versus Gilbert. WrestleMania. Watch all the dimes roll in.
With Drew Goldberg as the special guest referee.
Okay. Now going back to what Brian was saying. It's actually funny because he referenced us talking on the phone after Royal Rumble. I kind of convinced him this was perfect, because I'm like, oh, that whole thing was perfect. It's like, I wouldn't really go with perfect, but I'm like, no, it was absolutely perfect, because as Brian was saying, this whole thing made Drew McIntyre look like $1 million. This was a perfectly told story. It was, as Charlie was putting it, a finisher's signature match, which was pretty much a Paul Heyman match with Goldberg and Brock Lesnar a couple of years ago. So people are just calling that the Paul Heyman matches now, because that's essentially what they all are. But yeah, not only did he take did Drew McIntyre take a spear through the barricade and the first level of monitors for the fans, he took 2 more spears in the ring and the jackhammer. So 3 spears plus one through including one through a barricade and a jackhammer, and he still kicked out, and he still ended up winning. That's something most people don't really do. So
and you got a face that I've never seen.
Story. It was a perfectly, And to be fair, you were saying that it was longer than you thought. Actually, it was kind of the perfect length, really, because as much as it's like, oh yeah, he's still Goldberg. It's still Goldberg. It's still the guy who was one of the biggest stars of the 90s, which I even pointed out when we were watching it live, that it's like, oh, you look at Drew McIntyre's video package, all the stuff that's been happening the last year. And then you look at Goldberg and his video package was all the stuff in the 90s. So I was like, yeah, great. But yeah, it was perfectly told. It was the best way to describe it. It was a perfect passing of the torch, because the way they were kind of building it, it kind of looked like it could have been Goldberg's final match with how things went. Because he looked like, was one thing, he left on his back like what most wrestlers do. Right, Taker? Oh, wait. But yeah, he left on his back, and I guess the only real criticism that I had was just like how, like, if he just walked off, it just would have been just a perfectly told story for him. But him walking and then collapsing out of exhaustion was a little much for me. But it still put this point across that Drew McIntyre is not just the WWE champion. He really is the future. He really could be the guy. Mm-hmm. And I'm all thumbs up for it. And I thought this was a perfect beginning for Royal Rumble.
The moment that cemented it for me was, I've never seen this face before from Bill Goldberg, that when Drew McIntyre kicked out of the jackhammer, and I have never seen Bill Goldberg give the what face because someone kicked out of his finisher. Like, even when Brock Lesnar was doing it after like 3 jackhammers, like, you never got that what the hell is going on face from Bill Goldberg. But Drew McIntyre takes one, kicks out of it, and Bill Goldberg gives you that face. It's like, oh, okay. That's Bill Goldberg giving his stamp of approval to Drew McIntyre, because I have never seen that face out of that guy in any match that he's ever had. I've never seen him give that face that this dude kicked out of my finisher. What the hell's going on?
Okay, now that there's nothing really more to add about that, unless Jeff has something to add. But
nope.
I kind of got a Scholar's Quick Talk. I guess it's kind of a Scholar's Quick Talk, but I'll throw it as a Scholar's Quick Talk. It's kind of what I want. Brian asked what he wanted to see now, since he said most likely it's not going to be the Drew versus the Royal Rumble winner. And what are we going to see? This is what I want to see personally, and I just want to hear what you guys think about it. Now they just hinted it at Raw that now we're getting Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus, most likely at Fastlane. How would you guys feel of the WWE title match at WrestleMania, Drew McIntyre, a triple threat match between Sheamus and Keith Lee? Since that's pretty much been their story for the past couple of months.
I'd be perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, that would be good with me.
Yeah, in a word, that would be good with me. But then again, with the way that everything is shaping up with Drew McIntyre, they can pair him up with so many different people and would be a satisfactory match.
I'm just saying that actually fits as the storyline that's been going for the past couple months. I mean, even Keith Lee can come back and he's like, what did I tell you, Drew? I've said it for weeks that Sheamus is going to turn on you. He says he's your best friend, but he's going to stab you in the back. And when you know, that's exactly what happened. Mm-hmm. So I will be your true best friend. And just say, I'm going to go for the WWE Championship as well. Give me the title, bitch.
That even sounds like a Keith Lee thing that would happen. So
yeah, Keith Lee will just be like, I'm not gonna kick you in the face. I'm not gonna have you turn around and I'm gonna do my finishing move on you. I'm just gonna be like, hey, I'm coming up to you and just being like, hey, I want a title shot.
I'm just coming. I'm not gonna have Sheamus's boot. I'm not gonna have my boot in your face. I'm taking you on face to face because unlike Sheamus, I respect you.
And Drew
give me a title shot right now, or else I'll mess you up.
And Drew McIntyre being Drew McIntyre will be like, I like competition. All right, let's go.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Elsewhere on the card, we also have Sasha Banks defending her women's championship against Carmella. I think we all called this, but what was your reaction to the match? Fool, we'll start with you.
I got nothing. It was
after all that.
I don't know because I don't know how you're set up with this, Fool, but when for the people watching, he asked how I thought about it. My response was just simply this.
Throw your hands up in the air. Don't wave them like you don't care at all.
Hey, I kind of don't.
It's accurate then. I get it.
I've made it perfectly clear how I felt about Carmella. Yes, this gimmick is working for her, but I still don't see her being SmackDown Women's Champion. And we all said it on the prediction show. She is not the champion. She will get the title eventually because, hell, she'll probably be champion for SummerSlam. Because, she's a Long Island girl and, whatever. But am I wrong, though? You were laughing, Charlie, but am I really wrong about that?
No, I didn't know that SummerSlam was out.
That would be.
It's always East Coast.
Yeah, that would be something. That would be something if they actually were doing shows in other places other than Florida.
but it's once again this like the Asuka Charlotte versus Nia Jax and Shayna. This was a SmackDown match. This was a television match. This didn't feel like a pay-per-view match. Honestly, it looked like the biggest star that actually came out of this was Reginald. Apparently, Reginald has become such a big vocal point. He even showed up on this past episode of SmackDown, just saying, kind of apparently changing his allegiance to Sasha Banks. I don't know. Apparently, he's having the hots for her.
Yeah, that was really weird.
Okay.
Hey, when Sasha decides to flex those muscles too, I mean,
it's really funny because we'll talk more about Bianca Belair's Rumble win when we get to it, but what she said on SmackDown. Jesus Christ, fool! This is a review show, and we all know what the result is.
That's the joke. That's the joke.
Get out! Shame on you. Shame. But
stay tuned to find out who won the Women's Royal Rumble.
But yeah, it's just really like when Bianca Belair was giving her promo on who she was going to choose. It's just she was going on about how on Sasha Banks, and it's just like, well, she's a Grand Slam champion. She was talking about how great Asuka is and her undefeated streak and whatever, and then she goes off about Sasha Banks being a Grand Slam champion and all that. And my response was, wait, that really doesn't work with Sasha. Well, yeah, she is a Grand Slam champion, but technically so is Asuka. So it's once again talking down on Asuka. Obviously, they're going to have her pick Sasha Banks, which in my opinion, is going to be a great WrestleMania match. That's a WrestleMania match. That's a pay-per-view match compared to what this was.
Yeah.
This when it comes to Carmella, and so, it was just a SmackDown. It was the same match that they really had on SmackDown a couple weeks beforehand. Hell, even in the last pay-per-view, it's nothing changed really. So
I'm not gonna go as far as Tarek did to say that he didn't give a shit, which is basically what he said in layman's terms. But
you said in layman's term. I'm going to say it in just the literal term. I did not give a shit.
In all terms.
But
in every single term, I don't give two shits about this. And and I'm warming up to Sasha Banks, maybe because she was in Mandalorian, and now it's becoming a little biased for me. But I guess I am just warming up to her now because I will give it to her. She actually is a talent, and she's also kind of toning herself back, because one of my biggest criticisms for her was just she was throwing too much in, where I'm thinking this person is going to shorten her career. She's going to damage herself.
Yeah.
So, but I'm glad she's toned back, and now she's a Mandalorian. So now, okay, that's thumbs up.
My deal with this is, hey, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for what it was. Okay, I knew going in that there was no way that Carmella was winning this match. Wasn't gonna happen. But she is much better now than people give her credit for. Than for what she was doing a year and a half ago. So when you put her in a wrestling match, okay, character-wise, depends on the show. I can sometimes I can do it, sometimes I can't. But when you put her in the ring, especially with a talent like Sasha Banks, you're gonna get a good match out of it. Could it have been on SmackDown? Of course it could have been on SmackDown. But if you're going to put it on pay-per-view, okay, do it to the best of your ability. And I believe that they did. So it was an enjoyable effort. And it went exactly the way that it should have. Okay, so Sasha Banks came out with the win. Okay, we move on. It's not that it's as I'm not going to go as far as to say that I don't give a shit, but I'm going to go to the point of this is exactly what it should have been.
Exactly. I do agree. Yeah.
You gave less of a shit than I did.
Yeah. That goes without saying. But elsewhere, as we were alluding to, next up was the Women's Royal Rumble, which Bianca Belair did win. I know a lot of people are. I know. Big try and contain your. Let's be real. A lot of people we got responses from.
And now you tell me.
Oh, come on. You almost predicted it.
Charlie didn't even watch the pay-per-view, and he was sitting right next to me.
Bianca Belair won. Immediate reaction, Scholar Brian, your pick first.
This was the best final two exchange that I've seen in a long time. Quite possibly since the Chris Jericho Sheamus that went about 5 minutes. It was the best final three that you could have hoped for. Okay, Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, and Charlotte Flair. Okay, those are the top three names in your Royal Rumble. They are the last three in the match. Boom. That's it. That's it. And Charlotte Flair goes out third, as she should have. And the two best people to be the final two were the final two. And they got a great amount of time to show their stuff before they did the end sequence. And the end sequence was one of the best end sequences that I've ever seen in a Royal Rumble match. Just like they both went for their finishers. You got the my favorite part was when they were on when they were both on the outside. They were sitting on the apron, and Rhea Ripley says, "We're gonna do this in the ring." Okay. And they're both staring at each other as they slowly go back through the bottom rope. I'm like, this is your future. This is your women's division. This is your Rock Austin of the women's division right here, staring at each other under the bottom rope in a Royal Rumble match. And then they go into that last little bit, and this was amazing. And I the one thing I can say about both Royal Rumbles is I enjoy the longevity aspect that they incorporated into both of these Royal Rumbles this year. Bianca Belair came in as the number 3 entrant. Okay, and she won the thing. And Bianca Belair is that star that you think Sasha Banks is big as she is now. Okay, you give Bianca Belair the same opportunities that Sasha Banks has, and Bianca Belair is going to overtake her in a second.
Absolutely.
So it's like this. Everybody's known it for a while. Welcome to the show, because this was her jumping off point.
Yeah, I couldn't really see anybody who was really complaining about the Bianca Belair win. And she always seemed like she was one of those easy picks for a lot of people. And it's like, ain't nobody mad.
Certainly.
Yeah, it's like it's that one time where like the betting odds beforehand, like you would normally say like, oh, it's too good to be true. It's too good to be true. She's such a heavy favorite. There's no chance she's actually winning the thing. And I got caught up in it. That's why I picked Rhea. And it's like there's sometimes that the obvious pick is the right pick. And this was one of those times. Bianca Belair is the obvious choice here. And she showed it in her performance. This was a great Royal Rumble. There was a slow bit when Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler were trying to pull the Kane and Big Show bit from 2000. I'm not sure which one it was, 15 or 16.
Whichever one Roman won.
They tried to pull that bit, but it was like 3 minutes long. So it's like, okay, that as soon as that was 3 minutes were rough out of 60 minutes. Okay, for a Royal Rumble, that's pretty good. So this was great. This was a great Rumble.
Absolutely.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
No, we're all in agreement for once.
I will say this, when it comes to Royal Rumbles, this was one of my actual favorites, not of both men and women's. It's up there for me as one of my favorites. You're absolutely right, Brian. I think I made it perfectly clear at when we were watching it how much those 3 minutes of Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler were excruciating. There was really a lot of good stuff. I mean, I never knew that I wanted Jillian and Billie Kay to be a team.
I don't think anyone knew that we wanted Jillian and Billie Kay.
I
But
just
God
want her
bless.
to come back with Peyton Royce and just make a 3 women iconics. Cause those work together so great. I was loving every second of it. And then the Nia Jax. It's not even just Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. It was just the second Nia Jax showed up. This may have just been my bias on Nia Jax, but seriously though, she was the big show in Kane. Her and Shayna Baszler were the big show in Kane of whatever year. I think 2017 was that year that Roman ended up winning, and people are considering that as one of the worst Rumbles ever, which yeah, it kind of was. But yeah, what the second Shayna and Nia disappeared, it just went back to being a very entertaining Rumble. But I will say, actually, I got 2 things to say. One was the absolute shock of Alexa Bliss getting eliminated so quickly.
Yes. It was awful.
I'm not going to say it's awful. I'm
not saying it was awful. It was just completely shocking. It was well, yeah, because she was your number.
And my
she was one of your numbers.
She was one of my numbers too, but I also enjoyed it because I'm like, I enjoyed the fact that someone was like, no, I've seen this before. I'm not gonna let this happen.
And it was Rhea Ripley, so
she's turning
extra points for her.
It's like she's turning into this. She's turning into this character. I've seen what happens when she does this. I'm not letting it happen. Fuck that. She's out.
Like, I've seen what she's become. She's become a mixture of Undertaker when he first debuted and to the Fiend when he first debuted. Of both of her really no selling. So nope. Just throw her ass out of there. Throw her cute ass out of there. I love her. Not that stalker level that one guy on Twitter is doing.
Fucking Christ.
Screw that guy. But screw that guy. But yeah, she got Rhea Ripley just took the advantages. Was like, I've seen what this is. Nope, get out of here. But the second thing was what you said before, Brian, was the whole how it was clear as day. You could kind of say that with both Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair, to be honest, because really it was those two who were the top people who were the betting odd favorites on this one. I mean, Rhea Ripley was my number 2 if it wasn't for Bianca Belair. But yeah, the final 3 were pretty much the people who needed to be the final 3. And actually, speaking of Charlotte, it just popped in my head. The only other nitpick was the fact that it wasn't Charlotte who ended up eliminating Lacey. She wasn't even anywhere near Lacey when Lacey got eliminated. Just throw more storyline into that. But whatever. That, like I said, that's just a nitpick. But all in all, yeah, this was one of my favorite Rumbles.
Yeah, from top to bottom.
Not just tonight, which it was for me personally, it was the better of the 2. But I'm just talking about Royal Rumbles in general. This was one of my favorites.
Yeah, definitely some awesome work from everyone, top to bottom. But next match, we have our penultimate match. We've got Roman Reigns defeating Kevin Owens in a last man standing match. And Fool, you were one of the quickest and the loudest voices to sort of pick up on the snafu here. The rest of the match aside, what did you see? Break it down for us.
What did I see that pretty much everyone else saw? I mean, we'll just say right now, when it came, what was that?
I don't know.
That was a giant truck. That was a giant truck storming down Godwin Ave right now. That's what that was.
I just hear a big bang. Like,
okay, yeah, that shocked me too. I have no idea.
Sorry, easily distracted. All in all, the match was actually really, really good. Like, it was a very, very good match between Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns. A good last man standing match. They went everywhere. They did so much crazy shit. I mean, Kevin Owens doing a swanton off the little forklift, the golf cart thing where, yeah, I saw the joke memes aside of just Roman continuing the Samoan legacy of running over a guy who does a stunner with a vehicle.
My particular favorite was the Grand Theft Auto Wasted meme.
Yeah, right. I liked that one too. But the one thing that really hurt the ending is what really hurt the match for me. And I've even said it. Yeah, like you were hinting at I was very vocal on how much I hated this. It was not just the botch itself. It's just how they handled the botch is what really got under my skin. Vince McMahon has made it perfectly clear in the past if something happens and like something out of their control, like if this person's shoulder was down when it comes to a 3, you count it as a 3. When someone misses the 10 count, you have them miss the 10 count. They even just did that with the 6 women tag team match on, I think it was the Go Home episode of Raw or the week before. I honestly don't remember. It was like Asuka, Charlotte, and
and everyone was making
it wasn't. It was Charlotte, Mandy Rose, and Dana Brooke versus Nia Jax, Lacey Evans, and Shayna Baszler.
Yeah, and everyone was making fun of it because everybody knows they fucked up.
Granted, they actually worked their way around it with little improv, with having Adam Pearce come out and just say, "Hey, don't you guys want to? We're not happy with that ending either. You want to do you just want to do a rematch?" Yeah, it worked. When it came to this match, of course, from what was said, the handcuff was put on to a point where the keyhole was facing down, so it was hard for Paul Heyman to actually get the key in, which the first referee, you understand, it's storyline wise, they knocked him out. That's before the 10 count. Good storyline. Obviously, it's kind of ridiculous. But then you have the second referee coming out, and he starts doing the 10 count. But then everyone notice that while he's counting 4, 5, 6.
Dot.
Why'd you stop? Why did the referee stop the count? Wait a minute, what's going on here? Why did they do that? And they even show the ref still just standing there, just watching Paul Heyman and trying to figure out this thing with the key. The part that really pissed me off was the fact that they didn't do anything with this. They literally stopped the match just so they can get this right, get their planned ending going. And my response to that was bullshit. And here's my one. Fuck that. That ending pissed me off. They couldn't seriously. It was kind of like they couldn't seriously have like a Stone Cold Kane First Blood match back at, what was it, 98? Or, yeah, was it 98?
Something like that.
99.
98.
Around that time frame. Like, just let Kevin Owens win the championship. Yes, it was work their way around just to get the title right back to Roman Reigns, even if it's just have him win it again on SmackDown, or just keep the feud going for the next pay-per-view and just have the storyline on which champion Edge is going to pick. Just pause that just so you can fix this error. Don't just stop the match just because they're in a situation they couldn't get out of.
Agreed.
Actually, it probably would have worked perfectly if they had Kevin Owens win it, because he was working so well. I even was saying in the prediction show, and even before that this should have been a story where Kevin Owens needed to win, even if it is with a botch. Having him at least win the thing would have been justified, considering the story they were telling on how sympathetic Kevin Owens was. And if he just dropped the title immediately afterwards, that's perfectly fine. At least they actually had kept the story going that Kevin Owens is capable of actually outthinking the head of the table. It would have been great. It would have done great for Kevin Owens, even if it was just a temporary thing. But the fact that they actually it made WWE look stupid. The fact that they chose to pause the match just because they couldn't get the handcuffs off Roman Reigns. It was bullshit. it left such a sour taste in my mouth that although the rest of the beginning and the middle part of the match was amazing, it hurt the match for me. Yeah. I was talking about continuing my phone call with Brian after the Rumble. He said he didn't take it as far as I am, but yeah, that's perfectly fine for him. But yeah, this left such a sour taste in my mouth that it really, really hurt. And it actually really affected my feeling toward the rest of the event. Just how much that they were just like, yeah, we just gotta pause everything to make sure. And once the handcuff is off, all right, game unpaused. Let's resume the game. Bullshit.
Yeah, hey. as Tarek said, as Tarek said, I didn't take it as far as he did, but as he said, the first 20 minutes of this match was amazing. It was great. Like, you couldn't ask for anything better than what they did in the first 20 minutes. The last 2 minutes, everything that had to do with the handcuffs, okay, no. That just have Roman Reigns obliterate him, and then we can move on. And this is not, but I'm not gonna say it ruined my enjoyment of the event or the first 20 minutes of the match, but this was it was great, but the ending did hurt it.
Well, in the world of more satisfying endings, that brings us to our main event. And Charlie, I know you're happy about this. Edge wins the Royal Rumble, as we discussed earlier. Charlie, immediate reaction seeing your boy win.
He wasn't my pick on paper, unfortunately, but Edge won the Royal Rumble. He had his moment with Christian, which was amazing. Christian looked to be in amazing shape. Edge went from bell to bell, won the Royal Rumble, couldn't be happier. 2-time Royal Rumble winner.
Absolutely. And speaking of surprise returns, like you said, we got the surprise return of Christian, which is a great moment. But also out of nowhere, we got Buff Carlito coming back.
Yeah.
Looking like a grown-ass man. Like, okay, I know what my reaction was. I thought it was kind of cool, especially seeing, like, you know, the sort of attitude he had towards WWE. Now it seems like he matured into himself, and it looks like he came to play. I was really excited to have him back.
It's amusing to me that he can't actually do his gimmick because of COVID.
Yeah.
I spit in the face of people who don't want to be cool.
Provided they have proper personal protective equipment.
But you can't spit in people's faces because of COVID. So it's like, yeah. But it's like just
throw the apple at him.
The shape that the dude's in.
Just start pelting people with apples. I throw apples in the face of people who don't want to be cool.
I can see this being another MVP situation where he comes back for a Rumble, he comes back for a match. You think that's gonna be it, and then all of a sudden it turns into something huge. Like, I can see that happening because
word on, like, who has lengthy contracts from their surprise entrance.
Apparently with Carlito, they're trying to get him to be a producer.
They're trying to get him to. It's the same thing that they were doing with MVP. They brought MVP back to be a producer, not to actually be an on-screen talent. But he showed that he was so good during his bouts on screen that Paul Heyman was like, give him a contract. I want to see this. This dude's too good to just be a producer.
Was that it for Christian, or do you think?
No, Christian. Apparently, he's coming back as a part-timer.
Good.
He's part-time. Yeah. So
he was in great shape.
And Edge wants to do one more tag run with him after Mania.
Awesome.
That he said in an interview that he is 100% down for it. He wants Edge and Christian versus the New Day. He wants Edge and Christian versus the Usos.
I think we all do.
Yeah,
if they can pull it off, absolutely.
And that's also why I'm okay with how this match ended. Okay, because I don't think the winner of this Royal Rumble was always going to face Roman Reigns.
Yep.
Okay. And Roman Reigns was always going to win that match. That's it. He's not losing the title at WrestleMania. It's not happening. So if you have a legend win the Royal Rumble, okay, and give Roman the rub, okay, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that, knowing what's gonna come afterwards.
You're okay with Roman getting the rub?
God damn it! But but the point remains. Okay,
hey,
the whole
you
point
open the door, I just walk through it.
The whole point of this next few months is to make Roman Reigns a bigger dick than he already is. Okay, and you had two choices.
Who enjoys getting the rub?
Where are you going with this, Brian? He's a bigger dick that enjoys getting the rub?
He's right now just he's just continuing being a big dick, getting the rub, enjoying getting the rub. Of course.
All right, if we keep going down this road, I'm just going to end the episode right here.
And you had to, and you had.
Man, you're the one who keeps going down this road.
Dude,
I can just
shut
keep
up.
it going, man. All night long.
I sense the title of this episode.
You gotta watch your wording, man.
Around here.
All right. On that delightful note.
The whole point is finishing
credits.
Finishing my statement.
So it was Roman Reigns finishing. Boom!
Twitter handles. You're welcome.
You had two choices. Nothing else would have worked. Edge or Daniel Bryan. Okay. And the person that Roman Reigns needs to beat in order to.
Enough.
No. It was more thinking out loud. It was Roman. I just looked it up. It's 2015 that Roman won. So sorry. It was just me thinking out loud.
Roman, the bigger opponent for Roman Reigns to defeat is Edge. And also the storyline going into it is Edge never lost the title which Roman Reigns holds.
That's not true.
No.
World heavyweight title equals universal title in this kind of story.
Yeah, true. It does.
But it's not. He pitched that idea, but it's that's just the thing. It's not. It may be the equivalent, quote, even though in my personal opinion it's not. But it's not. It's like him pitching the idea of winning the title he never lost. It's just it's a ridiculous argument because the title that he never lost is no longer in effect. So that argument it may be the quote equivalent, but it's not a correct assumption. It's him going for, it's like him. I'd rather him just say, I'm going for the class of a small number of people who've won both the Universal and WWE Championship, which is only 4 people. Lesnar, Reigns, Rollins, and Wyatt. It's like, I'm going to try and become number 5.
But if you're going to go with the storyline that they chose to go with, okay, the only way that this
Battle of the Spears
is for Edge versus Roman Reigns.
My spear is better than yours.
If Roman Reigns beats Daniel Bryan, people get pissed off. If Roman Reigns beats Edge, it's like, okay. I could see that. I could see that. It's good for getting Roman Reigns more over as a heel, It'll allow Edge to break off and do his Edge and Christian thing. Okay, nobody gets pissed off with Edge versus Roman Reigns. I'm fine with it. And I once again with the Royal Rumble, the way that it went this year, I enjoy the longevity aspect. I enjoy when someone lasts a long time in order to win a Royal Rumble. The dude came in at number one. I enjoy that. Okay, I enjoyed everything that happened between Edge and Christian. That was great. Okay, it wasn't as good as the Women's Royal Rumble. I still enjoyed it. It was a good, solid Royal Rumble, and I enjoyed you had the bit at the end. You knew Randy Orton wasn't done. You knew it.
Yeah, they put much focus on him.
Yeah, and I enjoyed the fact that it was another one of those. Oh, Randy Orton thought he was going to get one over on Edge, but he didn't, and Edge threw him out instead. So yep. I enjoyed the aspects of everything going into it. I enjoyed the Royal Rumble, the Men's Royal Rumble. It was good.
And on that note, bring us full circle at long last. Before we head on home, let's talk about our final reviews and final ratings for Royal Rumble 2021. Beardy ratings, Scholar Brian, Champs pick first. What's your final score for Royal Rumble?
I enjoyed it. Nothing completely pissed me off. It was a good. The only thing that was really weird was the end of the Roman Reigns Kevin Owens match, but that didn't actually kill the show for me. I'm gonna go full beard. I enjoyed it. I had fun with it.
All right, second place, Tarek. Your final ratings for Royal Rumble.
Well, I'm gonna just say that I wasn't. I liked the Men's Royal Rumble. I didn't like it. I wasn't as entertained with it as the Women's Rumble match was. I found myself to be bored in a couple of spots. I did like the Edge and Christian reunion. Shocker to everyone how I feel about Christian. I liked that Kane showed up just to add to join Edge as someone who has entered the Rumble in the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, and the 2020s. Four decades for these guys that entered Royal Rumbles. That was fun. That's a fun stat to have. I was kind of disappointed that Bobby Lashley didn't last longer. Not just because he was one of my numbers, which of course he ended up being one of my numbers considering how much of a fan I am of the Hurt Business. But yeah, it was a good show. All in all, the Drew Goldberg was perfect. The women's Royal Rumble match was one of my favorites. I didn't care about Sasha and Carmella so much. The ending of the Reigns Owens match really hurt that for me, and I just found myself bored in a few spots in the Men's Royal Rumble. And unlike Brian, I wasn't really thrilled on the fact that Edge won. He was my number two, but it was just more like because this is his return match. Of course, he's going to be one of the top people. It was not because I wanted him to be. So I was very disappointed the fact that he won. So I'm going to give it a classic goatee, 3 out of 5.
Very interesting. Charlie, taking it over to you. What's your final beard score for the Royal Rumble?
It scares me that I'm actually agreeing with my rival, but I'm going to go with Brian on this one and give it a full beard.
All right. This is on that note. That's probably going to be I'm going to have a very controversial score here. I was very entertained by two very strong Royal Rumble matches, and not, barring even the Roman Reigns gaffe at during the Last Man Standing match, I didn't think it was enough to kill or take down, at least not that much, everything else that happened for this match or even the rest of the show. So given how much I enjoyed it, I'm going to say it. I'm going to give this a goat face, 5 out of 5 stars.
Wow.
I enjoyed it that much.
I think my rating is more controversial than yours. I'm not surprised at all that you.
Well, I don't know. I'll tell you what.
If you enjoy it that much, that's
yeah. I'm not.
A good Royal Rumble is among some of the best wrestling of the year. But again, given how weird those moments was, and given what you expect out of a Royal Rumble ending, I can't say you're wrong either, fool. But you know what? I think that's a perfect segue. Now is going to be the time of the show where we turn it over to you, our listening audience. What did you think of the Royal Rumble? Did the endings and the gaffes of the Royal Rumbles take you down, or did you enjoy it as much as I did? No matter what you think, we want to hear from you. So wherever you are all across the internet, Facebook posts, YouTube comments, or our personal favorite, the Twitter machines, we want to hear from you. If you feel like joining us on Twitter, join in the conversation at ScholarsOW, our main page for all the latest episode uploads every single week. And if you want to join the conversation, you can also track us down on our personal Twitter accounts. Fool, where can you reach you?
You can reach me saying one AEW thing, because we had to at least bring it up once on the show. Holy shit, it's Kenta at the Avataric.
And Scholar Brian, where can they reach you?
You can find me also going, holy shit, it's Kenta at Atomic People.
And Charlie, where can they reach you?
Charlene.
And you can find me saying, holy shit, it's Maki Ito at I'm Robbie Rage. Join the conversation. You know we're going to have a lot to say because you know who we are. We are the Scholars of Wrestling, and you have just been schooled. You're welcome. See you all next time for more shenanigans and yelling and screaming and the like.